It's the summer of 2012, and inside the offices of the biggest fight promotion on Earth, something is about to happen that has never happened before in its entire history. A show is about to disappear. Not postponed, not rescheduled,
Gone.
erased from existence. And the man responsible for making that call is about to stand in front of a room full of reporters, and he is fuming. This is the story of how one decision by one fighter brought down an entire pay-per-view event, humiliated a promotion that prided itself on never missing a beat, and left a trail of anger, blame, and broken trust that would last for years. Let's rewind and set the scene. It's late August 2012. The UFC is riding high. They're gearing up for UFC 151, a huge card set for September 1st at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. The main event is a light heavyweight title fight, and it's a big one. Jon Jones, the reigning champion, a young phenom who has been tearing through the division, is set to defend his belt against Dan Henderson, a legend of the sport, a two-division champion from other promotions, a guy fans have wanted to see step into the octagon against Jones for a long time. Tickets are selling. Commercials are running. The UFC has already sunk $2 million into advertising this fight. Everything is in motion. Then, just over a week before fight night, the walls start to crack. Dan Henderson has been training hard.
Too hard, maybe.
Because during camp, he tears the MCL in his knee. He tries to push through it. He sees doctors. He does everything he can to save the fight. But the injury just won't allow it. Henderson has to pull out. Now the UFC has a problem. A title fight with no challenger, a sold show with no main event, and only days to fix it. So they scramble. This is what promotions do. They start calling around, looking for anyone willing to step up on short notice and fight one of the most dangerous champions in the sport. They ask Lyoto Machida first. Machida says no. It's too short notice, and honestly, who could blame him? Then they turn to a wild card. Chael Sonnen. Sonnen isn't even a light heavyweight. He's a middleweight, someone who has built a reputation as one of the most talented trash talkers and toughest competitors in the sport. And when the call comes in, Sonnen doesn't hesitate for a second. He tells the UFC he'll take the fight. Not just take it. He says he'll hop on a plane to Las Vegas that very night and be ready to go. For a moment, it looks like the show is saved. The UFC starts planning around a Jones vs. Sonnen main event. Promotional wheels start turning again. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. And then, at around 9 o'clock that night, everything falls apart. Jon Jones says no. He refuses the fight. 8 days is not enough time to prepare, he says, and his longtime coach, Greg Jackson, backs him up on it, warning him that taking this fight on such short notice could be one of the worst decisions of his career. For the UFC, this is unthinkable. In the entire history of the promotion, no reigning champion has ever turned down a fight like this. Fighters take risks. Fighters step up. That's supposed to be the code. And here is their biggest young star, walking away from the biggest opportunity in front of him at the worst possible moment. With no replacement, no backup plan, and no time left on the clock, UFC President Dana White makes an announcement that shocks the entire sport. UFC 151 is canceled. Not just the main event, the entire card. Every fighter who spent months in a training camp, who cut weight, who left their families and jobs behind to prepare for this night, is suddenly left with nothing. No fight, no payday, no closure. And Dana White is not holding back his frustration. He calls it one of the lowest points of his time running the company. He points squarely at Jon Jones and his coach, accusing them of a decision that hurts far more people than just the two men involved. He estimates that other fighters on the card lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in purse money because of this one refusal. In his eyes, no champion in the history of the sport, not even the toughest, most difficult personalities the UFC has ever dealt with, has ever pulled something like this. The backlash is immediate and brutal. Fans split into camps. Some blame Sonnen, accusing him of ambushing the situation just to grab a spotlight he didn't deserve. Others turn their anger on Jones, calling him selfish, saying he let down an entire roster of hardworking athletes to protect his own record. Media outlets pile on. This becomes one of the biggest controversies the sport has ever seen, a symbol of everything that can go wrong when a promotion becomes too dependent on a single superstar to hold an entire show together. Dana White doesn't stop at criticizing Jones. He turns his fire on Jackson too, essentially blaming him for talking his champion out of stepping up, framing the coach as the real reason the show collapsed. Meanwhile, the UFC has to figure out what to do next. White initially announces that Jones will instead defend his title against Lyoto Machida at the next event, UFC 152. But Machida's side says they haven't even been properly contacted yet, and the timeline is described as pure chaos behind the scenes. Eventually, Machida doesn't take the fight either, and the UFC pivots one more time, booking former champion Vitor Belfort to face Jones instead. Here's where it gets even stranger. Normally, when an event gets moved or renamed, promotions try to keep some kind of continuity. But not this time. The UFC makes the unusual decision to let UFC 152 keep its own number and name, while UFC 151 is officially wiped off the books, labeled internally as a lost show. It's simply never happened. A blank space in the numbering of UFC history. For weeks, the story keeps building. Reporters ask Dana White again and again about his relationship with Jones. And his answer is telling. He says the two of them haven't spoken since it all went down. There's no anger boiling over anymore, he insists, but things feel different. He describes Jones as a young guy who made a young guy's mistake, someone with a mountain of fame and money at an age where mistakes like this happen. But even with that generous framing, it's clear the trust between champion and promoter has taken a real hit. And what about Chael Sonnen, the man who is ready to fly out that same night and fight one of the best pound-for-pound athletes on the planet with almost no preparation? Dana White has nothing but respect for him. He points out that Sonnen was the only one willing to step up, the only one who said yes without hesitation. And he even hints that if the fans want to see Jones and Sonnen collide down the road, the UFC would have to make it happen eventually. That fight does eventually happen. Several months later, at UFC 159, Jon Jones and Chael Sonnen finally step into the cage together. And it isn't close. Jones dominates the fight, finishing Sonnen in the very first round with a TKO. On the surface, that seems like the end of the story, a clean resolution to a messy chapter. But there's a twist buried in that fight too. During the finish, Jones suffers a brutal, freak injury to his toe, nearly detaching it completely. It's the kind of injury that could have ended the fight early if it had dragged on just a little longer. Years later, Sonnen would joke about that moment, claiming with his usual larger-than-life bravado that he was the one who actually ripped that toe off, insisting that the injury is the real reason Jones has struggled with certain matchups ever since. It's classic Sonnen, blending humor with just enough uncertainty to keep the story alive. So why does this whole saga still matter? More than a decade later? Because UFC 151 wasn't just about one fight falling apart. It exposed something bigger about how the entire promotion operates. When you build a pay-per-view around a single superstar, and that superstar says no, there's often no safety net big enough to catch the fall. Every fighter below that main event, people who trained for months, who sacrificed time with their families, who paid for coaches and gym space and travel, all of that gets swept away in an instant because of a decision made far above their heads. It also revealed just how personal these business relationships can become. This wasn't just a scheduling problem. It became a story about trust, about loyalty, about what a promotion expects from its biggest stars, and what happens when a star decides the risk simply isn't worth it. Years later, Jon Jones would finally open up about that night in detail, admitting on a podcast that this was the moment he most regrets frustrating Dana White. He explained that he suspected, rightly or wrongly, that Henderson and Sonnen might have been coordinating behind the scenes, and that he didn't want to walk into a disadvantage on short notice, no matter how it looked to everyone else watching from the outside. Looking back, it's easy to see both sides. A champion protecting his career and his body. A promotion trying to protect an entire business built on trust and reliability. 20 other fighters caught in the middle, losing money and opportunities through no fault of their own. And a furious president, standing at a podium, delivering a moment that would be remembered as one of the strangest, messiest chapters in the history of the sport. To this day, UFC 151 remains the only event in company history to ever be completely wiped from the schedule. Not moved, not delayed, cancelled entirely, then erased, as if it had never existed at all. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of this whole story. In a business built on drama and unpredictability, sometimes the biggest headline isn't the fight that happens. It's the one that never does.